And today we're going to be making some delicious feta and spinach stuffed mushrooms with some garlic and some Parmesan Romano cheese, some feta cheese, and then this feta cheese is actually infused with sun-dried tomato and basil, and I actually bought that on accident. I thought it was just regular feta, but it's not. But I'm kind of glad that it happened that way, because I think it's going to be good. So these are just containers of feta cheese. They are 4-ounce containers, 4 ounces each, and this is a 12-ounce package of frozen chopped spinach that I just put in a bowl and microwave for 5 minutes, and it thaws it out. You don't have to drain it. You can if you want, but I don't. Okay, we're going to start putting this together. The first thing you're going to need before we start making this meal, because we're going to be firing the grill up to grill some skirt steak, which we're also going to talk about in this video. But you're going to need a cold beer. So we're going to start there, and away we go. Okay, so we're going to start by making the filling for the mushrooms. Just before we start, I'm going to be using these large white mushrooms, and I'm going to be doing 2 pounds. Each one of these packages is a 1-pound package. So you don't want to use little bitty mushrooms because there's no room to stuff them. You want to use the big ones that when you remove the stems, you have plenty of room to stuff. Alright, after you bring your spinach out of the microwave after it's thawed, let it cool down a little bit, and we're going to add 1 egg. Just beat that up and mix that in. It's going to help hold everything together. We're going to add, because I'm using a lot of garlic on my skirt steak, I'm not going to over garlic these, so I'm going to use about a half a teaspoon of minced garlic. Coarse ground black pepper, and that's about, I don't know, tablespoon maybe. I don't know. I don't measure anything. You all know this by now from watching my videos. Get that nice and mixed up. Now we're going to add both containers of the feta, and I like to go really heavy on the feta because I am a cheese freak, so I go really heavy on it, which is the reason why you don't have to drain the spinach, because there's so much other stuff in it that it thickens up just fine. And I can really smell those sun-dried tomatoes and basil in this. I think that's going to be really good. And I'm going to add, this is a Parmesan and Romano blend. Add about that much, however much that is. I don't know, a few tablespoons worth. And then these are Italian seasoned breadcrumbs that I'm just going to put just a little bit in there. Just a little bit. That's about all you need. and then just really mix the crap out of this and make sure that it is good and blended. And I'm using a fork to really smash it to death, you know, because it's okay to smash up those big chunks of feta cheese. Get that good and blended. Alright, there's the filling. That's all there is to it. We're going to set that aside, and then this is a little topping that we're going to use right at the tail end. Take some of those Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, about, oh, I don't know, depending on how much you make. I guess that's maybe a quarter of a cup, probably a little less than that. And about the same amount of that Parmesan and Romano. And I'm actually going to add just a little bit of that coarse ground black pepper to that. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. And mix this up. And then once the mushrooms are stuffed, we're going to sprinkle this on top of it. And when they bake in the oven, this turns into a really nice cheesy, crispy crust on the top of them. It's really good. So I'm going to set that aside as well, and what I'm going to do now is get these mushrooms, and I'm just going to gently clean the tops of them off with just a damp towel or a paper towel. You don't want to drench them because they'll soak up the water. And after I do that, we'll be back and prepare them and stuff them. Stand by. I have my mushrooms washed, and now we have to pull the stems out of them. And I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me do every one of these, but I'm going to do a few of them so you can see how to do it. Those of you who have never done this before. I'm going to try to get behind the camera so you can see this. Basically, you just take this and take that stem, and it should just pop just like that, and then do it on both sides, and then take it right out, and you should have a nice clean cavity, so to speak, or hollowed out mushroom for the stuffing. Some of the ones with the short stems, they can be a little bit more difficult. You can try to do it. Sometimes they'll work, and sometimes they won't. Sometimes you have to get a spoon and help. That one came out, but I've done this a whole bunch of times. So, okay, do another one. Bam, bam. You can actually hear it pop. If you get one that doesn't come all the way out, just get a spoon and empty it out, and it'll come right out. Okay, I'm going to finish up doing that, and then we will stuff these things. Stand by. We have our mushrooms destemmed, or hollowed out, or whatever you want to call it. I'm just using a regular teaspoon, just a, you know, like a small kitchen spoon, not a big soup spoon, and fill in the hole, press it down as much as you can, and then I put a little bit more on top so they're kind of overstuffed, and just sort of use your spoon to mash it down. And believe it or not, this will not run all over the place as it cooks. They stay pretty much like this. You'd think that, you know, it would kind of go all over the place, but it really doesn't. And that's all there is to it. So I would say there's roughly about a teaspoon, with this size mushroom, there's roughly, I don't know, a teaspoon, somewhere in between a teaspoon and a tablespoon's worth of mixture in them and on the top of them. Okay, let me do that and we'll be right back. Stand by. Okay, now is where we're going to take this mixture of the breadcrumbs, the pepper, the Parmesan, and Romano, and just sprinkle a nice little dusting on top of each mushroom. And by the way, that amount of filling that I made was just enough to nice and overstuff these mushrooms. I had a little bit left over, so I just went ahead and added what I had left to the top, so these things are really piled with the stuff. If you don't want to do that, if you find that you have leftover filling, you can put that in a freezer container or a freezer bag, freezer storage bag, and that stuff will freeze beautifully for a long time, and you can thaw it out and use it the next time you make these, and it is just as good after it's been frozen for a couple of months in the freezer as it is when you first make it. That is something that I just recently discovered, actually, because I found some that I had in the freezer a while back, and I wasn't sure if it would be good, and I thought it out, and I made some of these a while back, and it was perfect. So, okay, there you go. And you're going to want to preheat your oven to 400 degrees, and these are going to cook for about somewhere in between a half an hour to an hour, depending on your oven. I would say an estimated time of about 45 minutes on 400 degrees on a cookie sheet, and they'll be great. However, we're not ready to put these in the oven yet. We're going to get our skirt steak ready. We're going to do that right now. Stand by. This is one full skirt steak that has been cut in half. This is just a hair over 2 pounds of skirt. It has been washed, and it has been out of the fridge for about a half an hour, because what you want to do is you want to get this up to room temperature before you grill it, but we'll get to that in a minute. We're starting off, we're going to pour some extra virgin olive oil. Nice and coated. And then the next thing we're going to put on is coarse ground sea salt. Minced garlic, and we're using a lot of garlic on this, and it is delicious. You want to get garlic all over it. Try to distribute it as best as you can. For this, I'm using on each one of these halves at least 2 full teaspoons of minced garlic, and really smash it in so it gets down into the grain. And so we're going to put another couple teaspoons worth on this side. When this skirt steak is done properly, it is the best beef that I have ever personally eaten. I would take this over a filet mignon any day of the week. And I'm not lying to you. Okay, coarse ground black pepper. If you have some in your pepper mill, that's awesome. My pepper mill actually broke, so I'm having to use this for the time being until I can go get another one, and I'm putting quite a bit of pepper on this. The only other cut of beef that I've found that even comes close to this skirt steak recipe is a cut of beef that is from Argentina called a vacío, and it is very hard to find. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. Oh, by the way, this is onion powder. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, and you can't find it anywhere. A friend of mine has a way to get it from an Argentinian butcher out of Chicago, and it is quite delicious. In fact, I started making this skirt steak because I was trying to mimic that vacío recipe, because him and I, when we grilled it, we seasoned it exactly like this, like we're doing this skirt. And I actually found that the skirt steak was just as good. I can't say that either one is better than the other, but the skirt steak is just as good. Okay, so coarse sea salt, olive oil, coarse ground black pepper, onion powder, minced garlic. I don't know if I said that already. Smash it all in. I'll flip her over here. As I said before, I put the marinade and the spices on this. It had been sitting out for about a half an hour to get up to room temperature. I'm going to continue to let this sit while my grill is getting ready. In the meantime, it is now time to get our oven going. 400 degrees, let that preheat, and our mushrooms are going to cook while the skirt steak is grilling. And while we're doing all that, we're also going to make some corn on the cob. Okay, our coals are ready, and what we're going to do here is we've got a little bowl with some vegetable oil in it and a paper towel. And I'm just gonna this is very important because the grill is extremely hot and you want to oil these grates so that your meat does not stick to the We're going to put these on here for about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes per side. All right, we're going to go ahead and flip these. Let that go for another couple, 3 minutes, and they will be done. These just came off the grill, and I'm gonna cover it with foil and let it sit and rest for about 10 minutes. That's what you got, finished product. With skirt steak, the grain runs this way, so you want to cut it this way. And that is absolutely perfect. Alright, thanks for watching. See you next time.